How do I do it? Well, luck does play a big part, but skill gets the round close enough for luck to be a factor. If you still think I use an aimbot, think about this. Most aimbots are direct line of sight, relying upon proximity, high bullet velocity, and a fast rate of fire. Once you get an aimbotter at distance, he has lost his advantage. Sarsis demonstrates this very well in his sniper versus aimbotter video. Even an aimbot that calculates lead would not be effective in a tank with such a slow round. Too many variables are involved. And if it were possible, it would be very easy to spot on video. The human mind, however, doesn't have to calculate lead. It is capable of learning and adapting faster than any computer on Earth. There is no hack that can outperform the true supercomputer we are given. Take, for example, the simple act of throwing a baseball. Consider all the different muscle groups your mind is controlling simultaneously without the need of cognitive thought. In fact, it is our cognitive thinking which often interferes with our motor skills that results in error. This is the core concept behind the way I have trained myself to shoot down aircraft with a tank, by tapping into the mind's ability to recognize patterns, adapt, and react with precision at lightning speeds. The brain's ability to track a target and project accurate lead points is nothing short of amazing. But our reflex motor skills needed to respond with precision is something that must be developed. In this tutorial, I will explain and demonstrate the training exercises I use to develop these motor skills. Here is the key. By keeping our focus on target and closing the time gap between lead point selection and firing, we allow that part of our brain which is most capable to take control. You may have already noticed that I frequently engage targets on the move with a gun barrel that is in motion. Believe it or not, learning to do this is not as difficult as you might think. In most battlefield situations, you simply don't have the time to stop your tank for a stable and well-aimed shot. So let's get started, shall we? As long as you don't ever have to look at your keyboard in the heat of battle, very few changes, if any, are needed in control settings. For those who are curious, note that I have shifted all of my movement keys to the right by one row. My middle finger controls forward movement using E instead of W. This frees up the left pinky and the index finger to control more keys without taking my eyes off the screen. It is very important to find a perfect balance between turret speed and fine control. You want to be able to swing around as fast as possible without losing too much fine-tuning ability when making stationary precision shots. I like sensitivity at 3 with yaw and pitch factors of 5. Also notice that I play with an inverted mouse. If you play with a non-inverted mouse, just keep this in mind as you observe the way I throw my shots. You may find it easier to throw your shots down instead of up as I do. I don't spend any time on estimating range and time to target to find the correct reticle point to use. This is a cognitive process that we just don't have time for. Instead, I use different reticle sweet spots for short, mid-range, and long-range targets. These serve as very accurate base aiming points and will result in a hit on the majority of targets you encounter. For stationary precision shooting, I line up the appropriate sweet spot first and then make very small vertical adjustments as needed. For moving shots, I pretty much rely upon the base points as there is no time for precise adjustments. This is my favorite practice target, and the means by which we will train to hit moving aircraft. As gun elevation increases, bullet drop takes longer to kick in. For most air targets, this difference is very slight, but it is a good idea to practice your reticle aiming points using this target to get a feel for the differences. Whether we call it drag shooting, snap shooting, or even potluck shooting, we are still talking about the same thing. It is the trained use of non-cognitive motor skills which we have a tendency to avoid when a gun sight is available. In other words, the more you think about how you will aim, the more likely it is that you will miss. I will refer to my technique as throw shooting, because in many ways it is very much like throwing a baseball with your mouse instead of your arm. In throw shooting, the reticle is positioned closer to a lead point while the target is being tracked if there is time. When timing is optimal, the reticle quickly accelerates towards the lead point with a sharp decrease in speed just as or after the round is fired. Throw shooting a stationary reticle is possible, but it is more difficult. It is best to begin the throw while the reticle is already moving. This is because the turret has a sluggish feel to it and does not respond to rapid mouse movements as quickly. Let's start by repositioning the reticle directly below our target. With your focus on the block and the reticle pre-aligned laterally, quickly move the reticle up and fire in one continuous motion. Do not pause to fine-tune your shot. Begin with small vertical throws until you get comfortable and work your way out to longer ones. If you have trouble, begin the throw more slowly. Now let's try some lateral throws. This time, pre-align your reticle vertically and throw your shots left and right to the target. Gradually increase the throw distance until you can consistently get the round close to the target. Don't worry too much about consistent hits. If you are getting it close, then you're ready to move on. Many situations will call for a diagonal throw, combining both lateral and vertical movement. You may find these easier because the mouse moves in a more natural direction. Practice all of your stationary throw shots first until you get comfortable with them. You will find later that throw shooting from a stationary position is more difficult, but it does give you the most training benefit. Shooting on the move is easier. Here's why. As you move, so does the reticle, but it moves against your background very slowly compared to mouse movements. Timing your shot on the move instead of aiming it therefore gives you quicker, more precise control. However, shooting on the move does require that you apply reverse lead. As the speed of your tank or the target distance increases, more reverse lead is needed. Begin practicing this with easy targets such as a nearby tree or stop sign. Continue working on smaller and farther targets until you can consistently hit on the move at ranges in excess of 200 meters. Next, we will need to start getting used to the effects of suspension and terrain on reticle instability. As you start or stop movement of your tank, the reticle will seem to drop or raise slightly. Instead of allowing this to hinder or delay your shots, let the natural movement of the reticle assist you with initiating a vertical or diagonal throw. Let's practice this by shooting at my favorite target, only this time initiate the throw shot immediately after a sharp change in direction as the reticle begins to rebound. Don't forget to apply reverse lead. Terrain shots are a little more tricky, because in addition to getting comfortable with the way your reticle jumps vertically, you have to get used to the lateral jerking that might occur when you hit terrain features unevenly. Minimizing this requires the improvement of your driving skills, but mastering the terrain shot will give you an advantage that your high-flying targets don't expect. Practice this shot first with minimal mouse movement. Pre-align your reticle laterally and allow the terrain to control your aim vertically. Just as the front end of your tank hits a terrain feature, be ready to fire because the reticle is going to jump fast. Shortly after the jump, the tank and reticle will seem to float as your front end falls back towards the ground. This is your second opportunity to fire. Once you get comfortable with the terrain shot alone, start adding in some throw shots with it. Keep in mind that since your front end is traveling up and down, some reverse lead may also be needed. Now it's time for us to start putting all of these different shots and combinations together into a single fluid motion. Keep your tank on the move. Constantly rotate your turret 360 degrees as you scan for targets. You will need to get comfortable with keeping track of your directional movement and obstacles regardless of your turret's orientation. As you travel, quickly pick targets at random and shoot them with the throw shots that best fit the current movement of your tank and reticle. As you get comfortable doing this, Attempt more and more difficult shots. Again, don't worry about missing. Concentrate on attempting the most difficult shots you can find. Your brain learns faster that way. You may be wondering how shooting at all these stationary targets helps with hitting moving ones. Again, the purpose behind the training drills so far has been to develop motor skills. Reactive motor skills are controlled by a different part of our brain than our cognitive processes and are much faster. Yet another part of our brain tracks movement and is capable of quickly projecting very accurate lead points based on experience. Eye focus is the key to enabling our mind to do this task for us. If we are looking in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting off a quick and accurate shot is going to be very difficult. This is because the time that it takes us to change our focus from one point to another wastes a lot of time that we just don't have. We normally don't even think about where we are focusing because changing focus seems so fast to us, but in brain speed, it takes forever. Many of your shots will involve focusing and shooting in the same area, but as target speed increases and tracking becomes more lateral, the lead point moves farther and farther into our peripheral vision. Our natural tendency is to focus on where we are shooting, so most gunners will either focus on the lead point as they track, or they will switch focus to the lead point before they fire. I do neither of these. I keep my focus on target whenever possible, even after my round is away. This enables the brain to better detect every slight change in the target's speed, pitch, and orientation as I prepare for another shot. What you might be surprised to learn is that switching focus to the lead point before firing is actually not needed. The real magic always seems to happen in that split second of time when we see where we want to shoot, but have no time for careful aim. But I'm not talking about rushing your shot. A rushed shot is when we fire before we even know where to aim. Our final exercise involves getting used to firing on a target without focusing on it. Find a center point of focus such as the center window of this building. As you keep your focus on that window, start throwing shells at targets near it without looking at them. It is important that you do not allow yourself the time to overthink the shot. As soon as you pick a target out of your peripheral vision, start the throw immediately. You might call it pot shooting now, and for a while that's exactly what it will look like. But in time, many of your victims will call it hacking. Well, that's it. The key to your success now is practice. I am confident that by watching this tutorial you will be able to learn these skills faster than I did. And when you do, please don't hesitate to share it on video. I can assure you that I will enjoy watching it.
We got company overhead! Over!
disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright sunshine.